Hello everyone, and welcome back to PHP 101. This is a continuation on from episode 4, where we were looking at loops, and we did the for loop and the while loop. So, if you haven't seen that episode, please go and see it now, because this will make no sense to you, as this is a complete continuation. Okay, so here is the code that I left off with here, where we looked at for loops, excuse me, and we looked at while loops. So now, I am going to comment these out so they don't do anything. They'll loop, but they won't output. So that we can have a go with for each loops. For each loops. Okay. For each loops are kind of a mix between while and fors. So we're going to use the same example again. We're going to use the same array, as usual. And this time, instead of doing a for loop and having to count each item in the array, you can use for each. Now this is especially good for associative arrays, which I'll show afterwards. So we write it again like an if statement, as shown in the previous episode. Except this time we do for each $array. We use the as keyword in PHP, which is highlighted red in this editor, to say that it's a keyword. So we do for each array as item, and that should give us, for every item in this array, it'll actually give it us as an item. So we can do echo item break, and that's a type of loop because it'll go first and it'll say, have I given an item yet? No, I haven't. Let's give it the first one, and it'll loop back again and it'll say, let's give it the second one, and it'll keep going until it's gone across all the items in this array. It's a lot more lightweight and a lot simpler than the other loops. So let's save this and check it out. Hit refresh here. Dog, cat, fish. There you go. But it has more power beyond that if we do associative arrays, where I'll just give you a quick recap on associative arrays. It's where we can use our own names as keys. If you saw the arrays episode. So say if we had dogs, and then we had, let me think about this. If we had dog, and then we had the name of the dog, like Rory here, and if we had cat, and then whiskers, this is just a standard associative array. This isn't one where it's an array and an array. It's just a standard one. And we had a fish called Goldie. We use the same names here. We can now do in this loop, obviously if you still leave it as it is, you're only going to get these names. You're not going to get what they are. What if we wanted to get the key and the item? So let's just see it without as it is for now. We should just get these names here. Okay. Here we go. Rory, Whiskers, Goldie. But I want the types as well. I want the keys. So in a for each loop, it's unique to for each. You can't do it in a while or a for. You can do this. You can put the key and use the same arrow looking selector here, which is the same that's found on these. And you can do $key, $item. So now we can do $item is a $key. And that will say the name of the animal is a, and then what animal it is. So if we hit save and look in Chrome, hit refresh, Rory is a dog, Whiskers is a cat, and Goldie is a fish. So you can see through here, you can actually get the keys as well using a for each, which is a lot more lightweight, and this might be the loop that you choose to use more often. Please be aware that if you're using this with a database, it won't work. Well, I've not really tried it. I always use whiles for database rows, so it just does it for each row. But I haven't really used a for each for it, so I don't think it'll work. But you can always try that. Now there is one more loop, which people might say it's not really a loop, but it is, which is a DoWhile loop. It's a derivative of the while loop, so it behaves almost identical to a while loop, really. But instead of checking and then running the code, it runs the code at least once first, then checks afterwards. So it does it the other way around. So you can actually run a code before even checking for the loop, which which can be quite useful in some cases. So to do this, you do a do. You don't have to add brackets, so we can just open those. You don't have to add any brackets. You don't have to add any conditions until the end here, where you can do while here, where you can do your standard while loop there. Let's just space that out a bit better. May make the file a bit long, and then you put your condition in there, which I'm going to put $end is false, $loop breaker is false. I'm just trying to follow the while example here. So I'm going to copy this code. So it'll actually do the code once, and then it will check in here, which makes it quite unique in the way it works. Sorry, that shouldn't be like that. That should be like that, I believe. Yes, the condition's at the end here. So it'll do the code once, it'll do the loop once, and then it will check, and then it'll do it again. So this should actually loop more times than the standard while loop. It should do it at least once more. I'm going to take that line there. So let's just update this here, and let's do looped while, and then I'm going to do looped do while, and we're going to see how many times they loop against each other. Okay, let's go into Chrome here, hit refresh. Oh, we've still got the other example in there. Let me just comment that out. Okay, let's try it again. As you can see, it's done it the same amount of times. Okay. It wasn't what I was expecting. I thought the do while would do it more, but we can check the code in a minute. But you can see the while has looped twice and the do while has also looped twice. So let's have a look at why that's the case. So first off, it's checking if loop breaker is true, which it isn't. So it's setting end as true. Then it's checking whether end. You see, we've already set the end as true there, but then it's checking for the end, which isn't what we wanted. Which is why it's only running a couple of times there. It should only be running once, actually. Oh, yeah. If loop breaker's false, rather, let me just get my head around this. We would hit on the else block here, and we would set loop breaker to true. It would do loop to do while, and it would check and say, let's loop again. So we go back to the do. That's now true, so it would set end as true. It would still echo, but then it would check again and say no. So that is actually correct. That does loop twice. But obviously this is the other way around, so this code will always run before checking this, which is great, because if your while loop never runs, and you still want it to do it at least once, you can do a do while, and you'll know that it'll always do it once, and then it will check again, and it'll do its checks. Okay? And that's really it for loops. All of this code, it's quite long. It's the longest one yet. This will be available on Pastebin with the same link as the previous tutorial, just edited, really, to include these. I will uncomment these out so these actually work when you come to run it, like that. And thank you very much for watching. So hopefully this has given you some insight into loops. Let's see what the next episode is. We've got a bit of time. So let's have a look in here. Where did I store the PowerPoint? It might be in here. Have a quick look at this. This was the PowerPoint from the first episode, if you remember it, where it was our introduction. So let's go on to topics. So we've now done down to loops here, and next time there won't be an episode tomorrow, which will be Sunday. There won't be an episode. I've decided not to do episodes on Sunday, or do any recording on a Sunday. So there won't be an episode on Sunday, but this may be next week. Okay, so next week we'll do sessions and cookies, and we'll look into how to store user data along pages. So if they hit refresh, how do we know that they're still logged in? How do sites keep that logged in information? Which this will be a basic overview, because I think later on, this isn't going to show me. I think later on we do a session handling properly, and we look into a user login form in great detail and how to store a user login and make it persistent. So we'll look into that, and then we'll go on to functions, and processing forms is there, which will sort of tie in with the sessions cookies. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and please hit that like button if you like this episode, and hit subscribe if you want to see more. I hope you enjoyed this episode. So please leave a like. It really helps me out. I don't even know whether this is any good or not. So it'd be great if you hit that like button or left a comment and hit that subscribe to see more. So hope to see you again soon, and thank you for watching.